You may be a man of sorrow and on speaking terms with care, but as yet you're unacquainted with the demon of despair.
Henry Archibald Hertzberg Lawson was an Australian writer and Basque poet. Lawson is one of the best-known Australian poets and fiction writers on the colonial period, and is often called Australia's greatest short story writer. Henry Lawson was born on June 17, 1867, in a town on the Grenfell goldfields of New South Wales. His father was Niels Hertzberg Larsen, a Norwegian-born miner, and his mother was one of the poet, publisher, and feminist Louisa Lawson. Lawson attended school at Urundiri from October 2, 1876, but suffered an ear infection at around this time. It left him with partial deafness, and by the age of 14, he had lost his hearing entirely. Lawson left school at age 14 to help his father as a builder. In 1883, after working on building jobs with his father in the Blue Mountains, Lawson joined mother in Sydney at her request. Louisa was then living with Henry's sister and brother. At this time, Lawson was working during the day and studying at night for his matriculation in the hopes of receiving a university education. However, he failed his exam. Lawson lived in a boarding house along William Street and wrote a poem titled William Street. In 1890, he began a relationship with Mary Gilmore, but it was broken by his frequent absences from Sydney. In 1896, Lawson married Bertha Brett Jr., and they had 2 children. The marriage ended very unhappily because Lawson abused her wife and he became a drunkard. Henry Lawson's first published poem was A Song of the Republic, which appeared in the Bulletin on October 1, 1887. This was followed by The Wreck of the Derry Castle and then Golden Gully. He worked as a roustabout in the woolshed at 2 rail station. This resulted in his contribution to the Bulletin debate and became a source for many of his stories in subsequent years. Most of his work focuses on the Australian bush, such as the desolate Pascarin, and is considered by some to be among the first accurate description of Australian as it was at the time. The Drover's Wife, with its heartbreaking depiction of bleakness and loneliness, is regarded as one of his finest short stories. Despite his position as the most celebrated Australian writer of the time, Lawson was deeply depressed and perpetually poor. He lacked money due to unfortunate royalty deals with publisher. His ex-wife repeatedly reported him for non-payment of child maintenance. He was jailed at Darlinghurst Jail for drunkenness, wife desertion, child desertion, and non-payment of child support 7 times between 1905 and 1909. Lawson recorded his experience in the hunting poem 103, which is his prison number and published in 1908. He refers to the prison as Starvinghurst Jail because of the meager rations given to the inmates. Lawson died because of cerebral hemorrhage in Abbotsford, Sydney in 1922. He was given the state funeral. His funeral was attended by the Prime Minister Billy Hughes and the later Premier of New South Wales, Jack Lang, who was the husband of Lawson's sister-in-law Hilda Brett, as well as thousands of citizens. He is interred at Waverley Cemetery. Lawson was the first person to be granted a New South Wales state funeral on the ground of having been a distinguished citizen. A bronze statue of Lawson accompanied by a swagman, a dog, and a fence post reflecting his writing stands in the Domain, Sydney. The Henry Lawson Memorial Committee raised money through public donation to commission the statue by sculptor George Washington Lambert in 1927. The work was unveiled on July 28, 1931 by the Governor of New South Wales, Sir Philip Gamey.